Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate being here. It's a bright sunny day where we are. Just decided to step outside, get a little vitamin D. But it looks like it's sunny out your window there, Kathleen.
Yeah, we're having a beautiful day here too, Al. I wish I was outside. I see you out there, and now I wish I was outside in my yard.
Well, I don't know if I should be, but I get to see. I'm trying to be a little more sustainable during
Yeah.
this quarantine. I've started a garden and I've got a compost tumbler out there. So
Oh,
my
now
students are
see,
working.
now you're onto one of my favorite topics, composting. Maybe we'll get into that. Are you a
Oh,
composter?
well, I am now. I've started about 3 weeks ago, and it's been interesting in that trying to take things and figure out what's compostable, what isn't. When you're shopping, I mean, all of a sudden I notice there are compostable vegetable bags. When you buy your
Yeah,
produce, so
yeah,
it's pretty exciting. Uh, but
absolutely. It's great for sustainability. It's great for nutrition. That's actually one of the key ways we can do a small but important thing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is by addressing composting, addressing food waste.
yeah,
So that's
it
great you're
is
doing
interesting. You say that you become more cognizant of your waste, of what you're throwing away, and
that. Yeah,
how much you generate. So
yeah.
it's been an interesting experiment.
I know. And especially being home all these days, food waste is one of my kind of pet peeves at home. I hate throwing out food, and then I always try to buy exactly what we're going to use. And I've become the queen of repurposing leftovers. It's like I'm running a college commissary or something. Just any scrap of food, I figure out how to turn it into a casserole the next day. And my kids don't seem to notice. They seem to like it. I don't tell them that's what I've done.
Well, I've got an almost 18-year-old boy. There are no leftovers.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
it's like you open the refrigerator and it looks sacked by the Visigoths. It's just
Yeah, exactly. I got a bunch of teenagers myself, so I know what you're saying.
so tell me about Walmart's goals. Especially when you're talking about making a positive impact, and now more than ever, uh, we look we're in a time that I don't think anybody could have possibly envisioned. Where we're
Right.
coming through a pandemic, and then this massive upheaval when it comes to race relations in our country, and how people of color, disadvantaged people, are being treated by authorities. Um, it must be very difficult as a, I mean, forget about a personal level. I know for you that must be something that you're trying to deal with and grapple with your family. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit, and then pivot to how you've had to deal with this on a corporate level, in a sense.
Yeah. Well, as you say, we were all struggling with COVID the last number of weeks, and that's been hugely challenging on so many levels. And then to have in the middle of that, these horrible events of the last week have just further laid bare the systemic inequities in our society, the racial inequity that's so deep rooted. And it's not new, but boy, has it been laid bare in a way that I think until now, and I don't know if it's because all of us have been cooped up for so many weeks dealing with the pandemic, if all of us have had this realization about how interconnected we are and that we can make a difference when we all act together, I think that's had something to do with it, right? And perhaps inspired people to say, okay, well, here's another crisis, and let's lean into this,
Mhm.
together. We actually need to act, as one. And so in my family, part of being in quarantine or kind of isolating here is a lot more conversations around the dinner table. So it's allowed us to go pretty deep in dialogue we've never had before. And I think as a nation, until we confront these issues in a very deep way at an individual level, in our organizations, in our communities, in our society, we can never have the future that we would all dream of. And so, I think it really does, in terms of our conversation, come back to, all right, so what's the role of business in all of this? And, I really think personally, and in Walmart, many people believe that the role of business in society is to actually address the biggest issues confronting people. And it's not CSR, it's not philanthropy, it's about addressing issues through our business. So that's the customer proposition, it's our operating model. That's where the action is for business, to say, how can we use our unique assets to create value economically, also in terms of social justice and in terms of environmental sustainability. We have to use the assets of business to deliver things to customers and our employees, and in the case of Walmart, suppliers, communities, and so on, in a way that really transforms our system, so that we have that kind of sustainability across economic, environmental, and social spheres. So, a lot of people call that shared value is a phrase for it. It's really, maybe a different way of considering what is the role of business. And you look at the issues we're confronting, whether it's climate change or racial inequity or a global pandemic, we can't solve these, anybody, on our own, right? They really are going to require collaboration across business and government, civil society, citizens, all of us working together in a collaborative, creative way. That's what it's going to take. And we've been working away for a while now on a number of issues: climate change, economic mobility, in our case in retail, and entry-level jobs, community inclusion, these kinds of things. And I think just that portfolio of tough issues needs to get bigger for all of us on things that we're addressing.
One of my jobs is, we try to work in without preaching about climate change, about environment.
Yeah.
And when I first started doing it, probably 10, 12 years ago, we got pushback from viewers. And what I have found is that fewer people are pushing back, and more people are saying, thank you for this information. Do you think that as a corporate citizen, especially in your role as Chief Executive Officer of Sustainability, that your customers and your business partners come to expect that and demand
that? Yeah, they do. And it's interesting, over time, you start to see the awareness rising of different issues. And sometimes people use different language. Sometimes they come at a topic, through a particular angle. We were talking about composting and food waste. Well, that actually contributes. That's a form of climate action, right? People might not use that language, but that's what it is. Or, renewable energy efficiency, or, packaging waste reduction. All of these things contribute. So sometimes we find we have to use different language. And one of the things we're trying to do is normalize and democratize climate action for business. So there obviously has been a lot of discussion as the U.S. Has said we're going to pull out of Paris and so on and so forth. Well, we're still in. And we've been trying at Walmart to make it really easy and the norm for our suppliers to engage in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So one of the things that we did is we set a goal called science-based targets for Walmart to reduce our own emissions in line with the Paris Agreement, whether the country officially is part of it or not. And lots of people have been engaging this way. So Sure. We're doing that in our own operations. But then we said, for a retailer, 90% of the greenhouse gas emissions are not in our stores. It's not our freezer cases and all that sort of thing. It's the supply chain. It's the agriculture that produces the products. It's, manufacturing, all these kinds of things. So we said, well, how much is that worth? And we looked at it over the next 10 years, and it turns out it's a gigaton of greenhouse gas emissions that we ought to be removing out of our supply chain to be in line with Paris. So we launched a project called Project Gigaton. We first called it the Supplier Challenge. And the feedback from our suppliers was, that's not really a great name. Can you get a supplier channel? It sounds like a bummer, right? So we said, okay, Project Gigaton, join us, right? And we'll help you. So we worked with World Wildlife Fund and Environmental Defense Fund and Conservation International, Nature Conservancy, and so on. And we created this platform where suppliers can sign up and make their own commitments that are relevant for their businesses. So if I'm a food company, it might be sustainable agriculture, or it might be preventing deforestation. If I'm a shoemaker, we had Nike on earlier, it might be factory energy efficiency in the shoe factory. If I'm Procter & Gamble, it might be designing laundry detergent that can be used in cold water. So it's the design of the product itself that lowers the greenhouse gas emissions from using it, right? Because if you wash your clothes in cold water instead of hot water, you save energy. Waste reduction, right? So you talked about food waste, but all kinds of waste. The more we reduce waste, the more we reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So, in these different ways, suppliers can sign up. We now have 2,300 suppliers that have signed up that are working on real projects to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in most recent report, we're at 230 million metric tons cumulative emissions avoided out of that billion goal. So we're almost a quarter of the way there, just a couple years in. And, we're keeping at it. We're innovating and trying to go farther, especially projects that go back to also have a conservation benefit, critical landscapes of forests and grasslands and oceans and so on. So it sounds like people may be surprised to go, wow, companies are working on stuff like that. That sounds like something environmental activists would be doing. And yeah, and guess what? Your local consumer company is probably working on it too. We're trying to make it the norm. So it kind of goes back to my point that addressing these societal issues, it's not just a matter of philanthropy. Philanthropy is super important. And it's not like sidebar projects for reputation. It's baked into the way you run the company. And I'm sure, if I think about Comcast or NBC, there are examples too. Like the more you can embed it in what you do as a company, the bigger impact you can have on society. And if you do it in a way that actually strengthens your business, then you set up a virtuous circle where you're starting to transform things in a way that are really reinforcing across economic benefits, social justice, environmental sustainability.
It's funny. I've taken part in that. The NBC Universal. The more you know. Last year was its 30th anniversary, and it becomes its own brand, and people have come to expect it. We've done some branded programming with for NBC local stations, including most recently something with Northwell Health, side by side, celebrating the frontline heroes, but not just the nurses and the doctors, but the sanitation workers and all those folks. How do you see going forward trying to work out these initiatives to let people know that they're just a slogan? It's not just a branding message, but that it's part of your culture.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the work that we're doing in these arenas, whether it's economic inclusion or climate, it does tend to be B2B, business to business. And I think we need to do a better job of engaging the customer and helping them understand what we're doing. It is really helpful when folks like you, NBC, actually engage the average viewer, and just helping to educate on some of the basics. It's hard for us as a retailer to do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to stand in the soup aisle and talk about climate change. So it's helpful when there's this kind of backdrop from the media, and then it's easier for us to engage the customer because they have some familiarity with it, But I do think that's an area we need to do a better job at, for sure.
In as you look at what's happening and the sea changes, and as we move forward, as we reopen the economy, what changes have you had to make and still keep in mind sustainability as people start re-entering stores more and more?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's one of the things on my mind. I worry that society in general is down capacity because of COVID. So it's almost like we, from a resource perspective, may have a hand tied behind our back trying to tackle some of these changes. I think it's one of the reasons it's all the more important that companies like Walmart, others that have some resources can really lean in and try to continue the work. And I think it's going to require creativity to come at things a different way. We're still working on all of our initiatives. Nothing's changed in terms of the work on climate or waste or human rights. That continues. But I do think collectively we need to be more creative how we bring resources to bear, given some of the challenges. And I think especially now with this backdrop of division and this recognition that really we need to tackle inequity in a deeper way, it's going to require new creativity about how we keep making progress together coming out of COVID.
What opportunities? Because this is a chance to reimagine things. Do
Yeah,
you see this as an opportunity?
I do. I think it's going to require a reimagining. What's that old cliche? Necessity is the mother of invention. It's true. Like, we're going to have to come at things differently. Like, business as usual isn't going to work anymore for anybody. So I actually think it's an invitation. And I know the folks tuning in to this conversation, they wouldn't be here if they didn't have a passion for social innovation. We all have a part to play. We need to be the voice. We need to carry this forward and help our colleagues imagine what's possible, bring fresh energy and creativity to the very real problem solving that needs to happen, to say, all right, if we've been at some of this for a while, what's a better approach? What's a different approach? How do we actually go faster despite having even more challenges?
Well, Kathleen, we could continue this, I think, for another 20, 25 minutes, but I know we've got to wrap this up. I just want to thank you for just a really insightful conversation that just flew by. And I want to thank the folks at Landmark and the Summit, the Innovation Summit, because I actually met the Chief Sustainability Officer of Comcast, Susan Jim Davis, at this. And it's great to see smart people, strong people, people with a commitment, and thankfully, very smart women, because the guys have screwed it up too long. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Al, and thanks to the summit for hosting us. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you.